And to solicit a proposal from Attorney Greg Howley, subject to confirmation from both Dave and Roger Russo that we don't need to bid this.
So moved. So moved on that motion. Recommendation.
Can I get a second?
A second.
Okay, any discussion? I guess the only other point I'll make is if we happen to get a financing proposal in prior to our next meeting and making a formal council selection or determining we need to bid, I guess we'll have to call a special meeting to deal with that.
And if the outcome is that through our city's bidding procedures, if we need to go out to bid on this, we need to know that too, I guess, sooner than
I'll
later.
look at that right away.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Any other discussion?
Only that our regular December meeting is only like 3 weeks away, right?
Right.
December, what's the date we have?
9th.
So if we're gonna do it December 9th, might still be out,
Right.
if we don't have a special meeting.
Right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Dave and Dick, if you can get that, that would be terrific.
Absolutely.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the executive director's report.
Which, as I said, my activities have been pretty much concentrating on working with Renaissance and the city in terms of financing packages and commitments and all. So that's a very straightforward, simple report.
Any board members have any questions or comments for the executive director?
Nope.
If not, Ryan, I'll ask you to give us your update on financing.
Sure. I'm going to start just by saying that it's been a pleasure working with Frank, obviously, and Tom. It's been a great experience. And Councilman Martin, thank you for taking the time to join us and work with us going forward. We're excited to take this to the next step. I'm going to just go over kind of the general items first, and my financing comments are not going to go too far beyond the executive directors, but I will bring you up to speed with where we're at. From a planning perspective, we told you folks last month that the last piece of the puzzle from a land use approval standpoint was this STC approval. It was submitted on the 11th of October, and we were hoping to get it approved by now. It's not yet. We don't anticipate any issues with it. It's just a procedural thing. And maybe Charlie, you can just explain exactly where we're at with that.
Yeah, so we submitted all of our materials to Office of State Traffic Administration, and now there's just a little bit of coordination that we're helping out with so that materials can be moved from that office over to the District 1 engineer's office to review the stormwater management plan and the discharge plan and the drainage calculations. Once we can get an approval from the drainage engineer, it goes back to State Traffic Administration, and they have their review period to sign off on the application. As Ryan mentioned, we're not anticipating any problems, just some procedural hoops to jump through at this point.
What's the review period? I used to remember that, I forgot.
Once they get a sign off from drainage, it's 45 to 60 days.
45 to 60, right? Has any flags popped up since you submitted it, or any questions? I'm sure questions have popped up, but questions that may be roadblocks?
No, I mean, they've asked for some material.
Yeah.
So I need a letter from the planning director for this, or I need,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But nothing out of the
Nothing
ordinary.
out of the ordinary, good.
I would
So
say
that's
just the coordination between them and state engineering is the hurdle that we've got to clear.
Other than it'd be nice to have it tonight, it seems to be on track to where you're satisfied to where it's coming in within meeting the schedule.
Yes, and the department's been very
Okay.
good in working with us. So I mean, the beauty of this project is they saw in the EIE 2 years ago when you folks commissioned that, they saw some stuff, so everybody's kind of knows that this is coming down the pipe, so
Good.
it helps, obviously.
One thing Charlie mentions referring to drainage, that's nothing unusual. STC, gee, I don't know, a few years ago now, brought that requirement in because they used to just look at traffic impacts, but they found what was happening is that some of the developments that they just looked at traffic ended up causing flooding or drainage problems within the state right of ways.
By bituminous runoff.
They make that requirement, so it's not unique to this project.
As far as zoning in general goes for the downtown area, I mentioned last time we were here that Charlie had been working very closely with the planning department on regulation amendments to the BT zones, which are basically 4 or 5 areas that sit right outside of the BD1, in between the BD1 zone and the BD2 zone. Um, that I will say congrats to Charlie, because he did most of the work, was approved last week by the commission, so that those zoning amendments have gone through, which is really exciting. We had a whole host of property owners that attended that meeting, including the Chick Miller property owners, some property owners that own properties on Upper Main Street, so basically between Summer Street and Center Street, that have had interest in developing their properties for years and haven't had the ability to move forward with the types of development they would like to. So it's pretty exciting. Charlie did an amazing job at putting together that amendment in partnership with Alan and everybody in the community and the property owners, and that was adopted. So it's we're looking forward to seeing some proposals come down the line for some of those sites to come online as well in the near future. As far as property owners go, that kind of goes in tail with what we were just mentioning about the BT zoning. That said, the 11 Summer Street project is coming to an end. So Charlie has been working on some of the challenges that they had regarding was there water connections and sewage
Water and
connections.
sewer, they had some utility connection.
That's done now, isn't it?
Those issues are resolved. I don't know if the work itself is done, but we got a clear plan and direction on where we're going with that. So I would anticipate within the next 30 days seeing that project wrapped up and tenancy starting.
So it's exciting that a formerly blighted building has now turned over to be a new development, which is great, and that street in general is continues to turn the corner every day. Then the other large property owner effort that we're undertaking is with regards to obviously the Chick Miller site. So we've been working very hard with those folks, and that's why this zoning amendment is integral to helping them move forward with the development on their site. Lastly, we have been continuing to work with the owners of the old Tinty's operations, their property site that's vacant next door to the liquor outlet, trying to get tenancy in there. And we've been working a lot with Mark specifically has been working very closely with the West End Association on some of the efforts that they are undertaking in the West End. There was a meeting the other night, and there was discussion about us getting a little bit more intimate with the West End's revitalization efforts from a planning perspective. So we were asked by Sammy, Basile, and some of those guys if we could get a little bit more engaged in that process. So I'm going to be meeting with them after Thanksgiving to try to talk about what that means and how we can help, and where our planning expertise and our economic development expertise can kind of step in to assist in their efforts. But the West End Association has been doing an unbelievable job. So.
And what's proposed for the Chick Miller site? Are they just trying to get basic?
They're trying to get basic zoning for some sort of mixed-use development. So they don't have any plans on the board right now. We did look at mixed-use residential or retail development for the concept master plan that was adopted in 2011 for that site. So I believe they've looked at that.
Do they probably have an environmental problem?
I don't know. I'm assuming that they're going to have to. They don't.
There was a little bit of environmental question over there in relation to where they were doing auto repairs and paint. As far as we were able to find out, it was pretty well contained, and the Clean Harbors has been over there doing some work. So I would say at this point, if it's not completely dealt with, it is being dealt with.
It's okay. Good.
The other thing, which I think is exciting, which I failed to mention, is the Bristol Press building. So we've had the broker and the building owner rep in a couple times over the last 30 to 60 days. And what we're doing is what we do in a lot of places, not just Bristol, is for property owners, is we put together kind of a pitch deck for their property. So your typical broker does kind of here's the traffic counts, here's the site. Beyond that, it's not really a vision. So we put together a lot more illustrative package. It talks a little bit about what's going on around the area, so it definitely gives a potential tenant or new owner or developer kind of a little bit more of encouragement to come into a place that's making changes. So we're putting a package together for those folks right now. Mark's working on so that they can go out and we can work with them to actively pitch a reuse of that building. We've talked to, actually had conversations between their broker and a broker of, because there's been a desire by the Bristol Rising crowd for years now. One of the ideas on the site has been a dinner theater operation, so we actually have been in several conference calls between a dinner theater broker who does these all over the country and the folks over at the Bristol Press building. It's very preliminary. We don't even know if it's feasible at this point, but that's just an example of what this type of package can provide to try to get potential tenants interested and excited about what the possibilities are for a new building that's located 2 blocks away from larger scale redevelopment that's going to occur. So that's been a cool process. As far as Bristol Rising goes, tomorrow night we have, I think, meeting number 33. We still have around 2,500 members of Bristol Rising. Tomorrow night's meetup will be at Firefly Brewing Company, which has just recently had its grand opening a couple weeks ago up on Center Street. So we're pretty excited about that. It's been a great experience with that. That facility, for those of you who don't know, either in the audience or whomever, was actually not only encouraged by the Bristol Rising effort, but it was partially funded by it. They did a Kickstarter funding campaign where they were trying to raise about $30,000, was it? I think it was around $30,000 that they were trying to raise to help open their facilities and come to Bristol.
They were trying for 30,
And I think they ended up at 44,000 in 30 days. So, obviously that shows the excitement for new retail, the excitement for new activity in Bristol, in downtown. So they were really encouraged by that. They're up and running, and supposedly they're doing very well so far. It's only been a couple of weeks, but they're pretty excited. They're trying to do a lot of relationship working with a lot of the local restaurants. So they're having them actually, because they don't have a kitchen, they're having them actually come in and provide food for their tasting room. So they're building partnerships with local restaurateurs to keep that effort going, which is.
I was not there Saturday afternoon, but I know somebody that did it